guys, it's Kelly. I'm back with another process video. This layout is for citrus twist kits, and I am using the February kit that is called Cedar Grove. And I was just showing you the piece of paper from crepe paper that I fussy cut some of the flowers off camera just because it was going to be, quite a few, and nobody really wants to see a lot of fussy cutting. I did decide that I wanted to use a bird as well for this. This photo is one of those cheesy family photos. We took a cruise this past year, and they, when you get off the boat, they have you pose in front of a life preserver with the name of the boat and all that kind of stuff. And it was ridiculously overpriced, but it was actually good of all four of us, and it had the name of the boat, and I'm a sucker when it comes to something like that, especially when it's all four of us. So yes, I caved and I bought it. So I'm just going to play around with these flowers and figure out how I want them. That strip of royal blue that is behind the photo was from a Project Life card that actually came with the main scrapbooking kit. Trina puts in these little cards with the main kit and with the Project Life kit, and just they have nice little phrases and things, but that blue went perfectly with the blue of that crepe paper, and I thought that it would be great to add as a layering piece behind the photo. So I'm taking this striped paper and I just tore an edge down one side, and I'm just trying to figure out exactly how much of that I want to show, and I'm going to layer it behind the photo as well. So now you can see the whole bit of the card. It says something about good things. I just thought it was gorgeous, and I am so glad that she puts little things like that, because I will definitely find a use for them. And you can see that I like the card so much that I'm going to keep the guts of it, because if I can figure out a way to use it, I most certainly will. So I'm going to trim this paper down a little bit. I felt like it was a little too long. I want some uneven layers for this. I want the page to be light and bright and like a tropical feel, since, even though this wasn't the summertime when we were there, it's definitely warm weather and sunny skies. So I'm just going to be playing around with the flowers quite a bit. And one of the things that as I'm doing this, that I'm thinking about is how I want to incorporate some stitching. We received some aqua crochet thread in the kit, and as I'm thinking about that, my first thought was that I would maybe stitch the title, but these gold thickers are so pretty that I had to use that for my title. It was just too pretty not to. So I feel like that the page needs something to ground it, and I'm thinking, a header and a footer. And this is the gorgeous exclusive paper from the kit. And I really didn't want to tear it because I wanted to use it as a background layer, but I'm trying to be good, and since I was not good and didn't order extra of the exclusive paper, I'm going to use it when I first, have that inkling to use the paper instead of just leave it in my stash. So this piece of paper is from Maggie Holmes. It's her new collection, and she does an outstanding job with these papers. It has a bunch of tickets on it, and I am going to trim it. And I'm just using my craft knife now to just cut out the little inside parts of the ticket to make it look, more like a ticket. And I'm going to just trim it and put it behind my paper layers as well. I love little things like that. They don't add a lot of bulk to the page, but it definitely adds a lot of impact. So this is where I decide I'm going to trim it. Not going to waste it. It's a great color, and it's just, it's too good of a piece. So when I fussy cut these, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll sit down while I'm watching TV, and my fussy cutting may not be exactly on point. That's all right. It gets the majority of it done. So I'm just using my craft knife to clean up some of the edges. If the paper that I fussy cut from was a lighter background, it wouldn't be so obvious, but with that dark blue background, you can definitely see some of the dark blue around the flowers. And, you know, my little OCD comes out when I'm having to clean it up. You don't have to do this. It's not that big of a deal. I don't think most people would even be bothered by it or catch it or notice it, but it's one of those things that my eye is drawn to. So I want to go ahead and get a few of these stuck down so that when I move the whole photo, I will be moving that as a cluster. I really like the way that that photo or that flower cluster is looking on that side, so I don't want to mess it up. So again, I'm just cleaning up the little flowers, and I felt like that little bird was so sweet, and you guys know how much I love birds and would like to incorporate them on pages. And I liked the way that that little bird was like looking up at the family. It just, I thought it was like the perfect little fit. So I'm just playing around. There's something that's not quite, my title's not quite fitting underneath like I want it to. And I'm thinking that maybe what I need to do is add another paper layer or strip of pattern paper underneath the photo just to help even out and bridge that space that is in between the paper layer and the bird. And while I'm thinking about that, what I want to do is I've pulled these stencils out because I think that with the crochet thread that if I just stitched some leaves that it would be pretty cool and make a big impact on the page, but very simple. This is something that you don't have to have a stencil for. I just happen to have it. So since I have it, I want to use it. So for this, I tie a knot in the end when I'm getting ready to go ahead and do my stitch, and I just go up one hole and down in the other. It's a very simple back stitch, and I left this in just so you could see a little bit of it. This goes very quickly, and I went ahead and I trimmed out the leaf because I am thinking either I'm going to do it this way or I'm going to actually stitch it directly onto the background. But this way I can at least move the leaf around, see how it looks and what I like or don't like about it. So I am going to go ahead and commit to putting that paper layer up top. I do like the way that that yellow looks. It's nice and bright, and it just adds a little something to the page. And I'm going to go ahead and use that other portion of the ticket on the right hand side. I feel like it helps to fill in that side, and it brings that really pretty green over as well, and it just helps to tie everything together. So I'm going to go ahead and get, I'm going to trim off the leaves of the flower. I really debated on this, but I love the way that that leaf looks, and so I thought what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch directly onto the background of the layout. And I am going to do this for a couple of reasons. First of all, I felt like it would look just a little bit more clean if I did it directly onto the background as opposed to doing the leaf like I have now. And then I knew that if I messed up, I can always redo the leaf and put it on top, so it's not that big of a deal if I, do mess it up. So I do have a few paper layers underneath the photo, and so it is sticking up a little bit, which is why I put a few of the foam dots underneath the tail of the bird. That way the bird is laying more flat than not, and it does give it a little bit of dimension and allows me to put those flowers underneath it, and it really helps to cover up that edge and make it look a little bit more cohesive, and there's not a big trap space anymore. Just with layering that little piece of paper in between the flowers and underneath that striped paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm using my pen and I'm just dotting around this leaf cluster. This is an Amy Tangerine stencil. I'm not sure if you can still find these. You might be able to find them on eBay. But she has this leaf cluster, and I thought that the big one might work, but I felt like it was too big, so I just trimmed off one of the flowers, and I like the way that looks. I wanted to have two different leaves on this side, And so what I'm doing now is I'm just poking holes around the leaf, and I'm just holding it down with my fingers and, you know, making sure that I poke a hole underneath the flower as well, so that when I go ahead and stitch, the stitching goes from underneath as well, so it looks cohesive. So I'm gonna cut out quite a bit of that just because it's boring to watch me do the same thing. And I am going to go ahead and stick my title down. And I would tell you, these gold thickers are just amazing. I say this about a lot of thickers. I love gold foam thickers. I love foam thickers anyway, just because they stick so well and they're just so nice. But this, it's almost like a yellow gold, and it's just very pretty. So if you haven't seen these, I will link them in the detail section below. Definitely check them out, especially if you do like gold. It's a distinct gold. It's different than anything that I have in my stash. So that yellow die cut says Time for Us, and that was a Citrus Twist exclusive, and I thought that was perfect since it is a family vacation. And I am going to bring a couple of the flowers up in that cluster as well, just to bring a third cluster, bring that pop of blue up in that cluster as well, just so that there's blue all around. And I'm just trying to finish up that flower cluster on the side, and I am going to incorporate that pink flower as well. I felt like it needed just a little something extra to that cluster to make it really stand out. So here is where I've decided I'm going to do the next couple of leaves, and I am going to go ahead and get my crochet thread as well and stitch those down. And again, I am going to cut quite a bit of this out as well, because you don't need to see me stitch. I just really wanted you to see how I went about doing the flowers and just that little bit of process. So I have some India ink here, and I played around with, I wanted some small mist droplets, and I am just playing with my brush, and you can see that some of them just did not fall where I wanted them to, and I just added a couple more with the brush, and I like the way that that looks. And then I am going to add the journaling underneath the title, and basically it just says, cheesy cruise photo for the win. Yes, it was overpriced, but to get a decent family photo of the 4 of us on vacation, I'll gladly pay. And then the last thing I'm going to do is stamp the date underneath the journaling, and I love to use the black VersaFine ink for that. I feel like it always stamps crisply, and I don't mind that it stains the stamps, because I feel like if it means I've got stained stamps, it means that I am using them, and that is what our goal is for using our things in our stash. So that's it for me. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for all the kind comments that you have left regarding my layout share with the challenge with Mari. I appreciate it. I was super bummed that the process video was blurry, but those things happen, and it's just how we have to deal with it. So thanks again. I appreciate it. I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.